Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today we're going to do a character guide on Aphmau. So, Aphmau's a pretty cool character, probably not as impactful as she used to be, but she is still a very impactful character if you understand the game and you want to turn manipulate with specific characters. So we're going to talk about that, but Aphmau's main game here is turn manipulation and a lot of buffs and support to the party. She is really just a support character, at its core, right? So she does do it very well. She's a character, though, I feel like you have to like her style. She's a character I personally don't use too often. Like, I used her during her meta with Sid Reigns, which I'll kind of demo how that works. But you can apply this, basically this style of play with a lot of different characters, but she works really well with characters that are very slow that you want to bring up and get more turns. So any character that like Sync is a really good example, right? Like Sync is very powerful, but she's very slow. Aphmau and Sync is actually a very good combo. Just like Realm helps work with these characters as well. But Sid Reigns in particular is a pretty nasty combo with her because Sid Reigns also has turn manipulation. So what you can do is you can kind of manipulate those two together and they can literally take all the turns. Where while your third character could either be an off-turn damage dealer or like a really good aura bot, like Ramza or like Garnet is a really good combo there, right? So we'll talk about that. So in this video, let's go ahead. We're going to look at Aphmau's artifacts. We're going to look at her spheres, and then we'll jump into the showcase. And I will talk about her call as well. So let's do that first so I don't forget. So her call here. So her normal call is Shield Subverter. Basically, it is just going to be a little bit of a battery on there, and then it will do an attack. It's not anything crazy, but the big thing is it gives the allies 4 turns of an automation buff. And basically, this automation buff for 4 turns, you're going to basically get Brave regen based on the iBrave stat. So it's going to give you battery. So if there's a situation where you just want a little bit more battery in your party, like just using a regular call can help with just getting battery and maybe a team comp that doesn't have a lot of battery or just one where you want more battery, right? Then we've got the LD call here. So the LD call, once again, it's going to do basically just like a varied version of her normal LD attack. But the big thing is you do get a special effect with this one. And basically what you're going to get is you're going to get HP damage taken down. So like you're actually getting HP damage reduction, which is really, really good. And then you're going to get a little bit of an HP damage up, and you're going to get a little bit of like overflow to the party. So her LD call is actually pretty good. The places where you'd really want to use this LD call, I feel like if you're bringing Aphmau call, it's either because you want the battery effect or because you want like that HP damage reduction, right? So if you're doing a very aggressive boss where maybe you need to have a tank or some type of reduction, but maybe you don't have room in your team comp for one, or you don't want to bring one, you can try getting away with maybe, if she's one of your calls, it might be enough HP damage reduction to maybe get through like one really tough threshold of a boss, and then maybe you can heal your way and power your way through the rest of the fight. So something like that might be a situation where you want to use Aphmau's call. It's not a call I've used a lot. It's not like one of my go-tos, but it's not a bad call. Definitely don't summon for her for just the call, though, right? There are definitely better calls that you'd want to like summon for. So we'll go ahead and throw something else there so that we can run it. But let's go back into Aphmau here. So we're going to look at our artifacts here. Now, Aphmau does do a lot of battery. So this is one of those characters where if you want to up the damage a little bit, you can go more attack route, or you could go a little bit more battery route, right? So if we go to artifacts here, mine aren't completely set here, and I haven't like fully farmed her out, but the typical recommendation would be like an attack 108 and then her C50. So this would be more like the standard attack route. So if you want to boost her attack, and then the C50 is going to give her attack and max brave, which are really good, right? If you want to go heavy battery route, because here's the thing, a lot of her batterying does scale off of max brave, and then iBrave will also play a part in battery as well. So if you want to go full battery, you actually could go iBrave and max brave. That's another option. Or you could do like max brave in the C50, like any of those combinations. So I feel like as long as you're, so like you can see here, I got a max brave with a C50. I don't think that one's bad either. So I would say, depending on what type of build you want to do, any combination with the attack 108, the C50, max brave, and iBrave, I think those are all decent stats for her to have. She can make use of those stats. It's just a matter of what combo you'd want to do. But I would say the standard recommendation is just go 3 of these, attack 108 and the C50. But it's totally up to you, right? So let's go ahead and look at the calls. So we'll back out here. So she's got a B, a C, and a D slot. Now my calls are not set up like optimally here, but I don't really feel like changing them out. So I'll just talk about what optimal ones are. The B slot, actually, Celis probably is her best one. This is just a really good Brave Gain sphere. And, you know, especially if you're building Aphmau with iBrave, this is going to battery a little bit on iBrave. So I think Celis is probably one of the better B slots. Just because she doesn't have, like, a lot of the B slot spheres are going to be for, like, tanking and dodging, which she doesn't really do. So I would say giving her Celis would be a really good one if you have it, right? You could do something like Warrior of Light or Gabranth for like some damage reduction. I mean, Gabranth is always a decent one because that's party-wide damage reduction. So Gabranth is a really easy go-to for like a character that like a B slot, just none of the B slots really fit in for them. If you have extra Gabranth, I feel like he's always a good solid option, right? And then in the C slot here, on mine, I've got like a Brave Gain one. So if you're going more the Brave Gain route, so I've got Pinellos on here. There are actually a lot of good Brave Gain spheres in the C slot. Otherwise, you'd want to go with your typical like attack boosting one. And Aphmau does heal, so you could do like Maria, Lude, like any of these like heal trigger ones if you wanted to. Alphanod is, like I said, one of the better like just generic C slots for attack. So if you want to do like boosting party attack, those would probably be your best options there. And then the D slot. Right now I have hers on herself, but it's, I mean, after granting a buff, it is going to do like a battery, so that's good for a battery setup, right? But I would say her best one is probably Hope. Hope is going to do max Brave and attack. Max Brave is going to help her battery. Attack's going to help the party. Hope is just the best, and it's a pretty common theme. That Hope I recommend a lot as the best D slot on a lot of characters. You can't underestimate how good that sphere is, so just make sure you're refining it whenever it's available. But like Ashe, Lise, and Saz, those are other party attack spheres. So party attack D slot spheres are usually a good thing to put there as long as you can activate them, right? The other thing with Aphmau is she does do enough buffs that Waka sphere works, and Waka's actually got a really good effect. He just requires that there are 5 buffs on, but Aphmau does a lot of buffing, so that's easy to activate. So Aphmau is a good candidate for your Waka spheres if you've got those available, right? Alright, so let's go ahead and hop in. And we're going to jump into a fight here. We'll get off that call page. So for this particular setup, I'm going to show you the Sid Reigns combo. If you are specifically doing this combo, what I recommend you do is you run Aphmau, Sid Reigns, and then the third slot, either an off-turn damage dealer or like an Aura bot, or a character you just want to sit there and not take turns for whatever reason. So right now I'm going to do one with Sisney, okay? And then if you are doing like a launch comp like this, you do want to bring Pandemonium. You're going to get more damage out. But you wouldn't have to do that specifically, right? So let's go ahead and hop in, and we'll jump into a fight here. So I'm going to do a little bit of mix of how I kind of show this off. We'll just jump in with no friend here. That's fine. Yep. I want to like explain her skills, but then I also kind of want to show you like how I play Aphmau and kind of how she operates. She kind of has a lot going on, but she's not that bad. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump in here. So what I'll probably do here, I think, is rather than like go through the attacks in specific order, I think I'm actually just going to show you a typical way you can play Aphmau, right? So what you would do, the typical like Reigns Aphmau combo, and once again, remember, this isn't like as meta as it used to be, but just showing an example of how you basically she'll like partner up with the character and they can kind of combo. The reason why Reigns was so good is that like he also has turn manipulation, right? So like with Reigns, what I could do is I could use his LD, which will pull characters up. And what I could do is actually, I'm going to maybe pull up Sisney first so I can get Sisney's LD going. And then basically with Sisney's LD going, I can basically have Aphmau and Reigns just tag team back and forth turns. And until I'm out of skill uses, basically I can make it so Sisney never gets another turn until I literally have run out of skill uses to do the combo, right? So let's go ahead and set that up with Sisney here. So we'll go ahead. And once again, it's pretty much like up to your imagination here. We'll just put like a random call on as well, just to get some debuffs on them. I didn't bring a specific call here for any reason. These were just what were on the characters. That's actually left over from my DE10 run. I got to actually record that still. But I have done it. If you guys maybe noticed on the main screen, but I have like the upgraded nameplate or whatever. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the LD. And obviously Reigns is making everybody launchable, so that's always fun. Okay, so we'll do that, yep. Okay, so now here's what you do with Aphmau. So she's got a couple things going on. Her EX is going to give her a transformed HP attack. But what we're going to do here is we're actually going to start off and we're going to use her LD. Okay. And so this is like if you wanted to, well, actually, no, we don't have to because Reigns is coming up next. So actually, let's do the EX because if you can, I like starting with the EX. So let's do that first. So the EX here, it's just going to be a Brave HP attack. So we'll see the damage here. Okay. Not the craziest, right? Like she's not really a damage dealer though. She's like a support. So then what happens is she gives herself a buff called Well Encourage. Well Encouraged gives her attack and max brave up, brave damage, HP damage, and then party eye brave. Okay, but the big thing is she gets 2 turns of her overhead. Now, when she has her overhead up, her HP and her brave attacks are going to get plus versions, which are actually pretty cool. So now, what I'm going to do with Reigns is actually I can just do anything with Reigns here. So let's just do this because Aphmau's following him up already, anyways. So Reigns doesn't need to turn manipulate here, so that's fine. And then what we could do is we could brave attack through whatever. The other thing I could have done here is instead of Cisne, like I could have actually put like Charlotta with her BT effect and all the battery. That actually would be a really good combo. So there's a lot of ways you can run like combos with this, which is really, really cool, right? All right, so now what we're going to do with Aphmau is to just show off here her transformed attacks. These you can spam for the 2 turns. They're basically instant free turns. So basically you're getting 2 free attacks here, right? Now what's going to happen is if we do the top HP attack, the Menjing one, this is actually going to be like a battery and a party heal, which is actually pretty cool that she has that healing built in her kit, right? So we didn't really see it there because we haven't lost any health, but it's a free instant turn and it does healing. If we do the other one, this is more the attack-based one. Okay, and it does AoE. Okay, but once again, just a free turn. So what happened is from that transformed, that first transformed attack we did, that's the one that heals. We get an automation buff to the party, and we get a fine-tuning buff to the party. So the automation buff gives the 100% Brave regen. That's the one that I talked about on the call. So they're getting the regen there. And then the other buff that comes from that is the fine-tuning. So fine-tuning, this is really good. It gives the party defense up, brave damage taken down 50%, and 100% debuff evasion. So that's really good in debuff evasion fights. So like her and Lena are like the 2 big debuff evasion characters I can think of off the top of my head. But debuff evasion can be really good with bosses that have nasty debuffs, right? So she has debuff evasion, which is a very, very good thing. All right. So now that you can see her overhead is gone and she reverts back to normal. So the only way to get her overhead back is to either use the EX or she also gets it from the LD. So let's go ahead and pop the LD. But before I do that, let me explain. So then the other buff that we got from the the other HP attack, so from the Ovjang one, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's really bad. But we get the optimization buff, which is just an attack, max brave, and speed up to the party. Okay, so ideally, what you normally want to do is every time she gets that overhead, I always just use one of each because then you're getting all those buffs to the party and you're getting healing. The only time I stray from that is one, if I'm really low on health and I need double heals, I'll double heal. Or the other one is if you're running a team with like a lot of buffs on it and you don't have room to hold because that top attack, the healing one, has the extra buff on it. If you don't have room for that buff, then you could just use the other one twice. So it really depends on the situation. But typically, normally, you're going to press each of them once in a normal situation. That's the way I like to run it, right? Now we're going to use the LD. The LD is pretty loaded, and it's like really the main thing in her kit. So let's go ahead and do that. So when you pick the LD, you're going to choose a character. And her whole theme is that like she's a puppeteer, right? And she's controlling the puppets. Well, basically, she's like making this ally her puppet. And she's applying all the buffs to the ally that she's getting and then manipulating the turns. It's kind of cool when you think about it that way. So we're going to manipulate Sid Reigns. He's going to become our puppet essentially, right? So what happens is her puppet will always act right after her. And this is a 4-turn buff that she's giving Sid Reigns. So for the next 4 turns that Reigns appears, he's always going to follow her. So watch what happens. She went and Reigns just jumped up to the front, which is really, really cool, right? So if we look at it, this is the buff called Tactical Switch right here. So if you want to keep an eye on that, if you want to keep that going, but he's got 4 turns of that now. So now what you can do with Aphmau is on her next turns, as long as Reigns has that buff, she can freely go crazy. Now, one thing people are probably going to ask is, well, can you put it on both characters and like puppeteer them both? And you can't do that. So only one character holds it. If I choose the LD and I switch to Cissnei, Reigns is going to lose the buff. So you just want to keep it on your like one main DPS character and just let the other character be in the background. So make sure that if you're doing this type of team comp, whatever that third character is, they're an aura bot, an off turn, something where they're doing something just by sitting there, right? It could even be like a tank that's just doing like HP damage down or something to protect a party like passively. That's fine too. So all right, so let's go ahead here with Reigns. Now Reigns can kind of do whatever he wants, but the thing is you can see after Reigns, Cissnei would go. So this is why the combo is crazy, because now Reigns has his LD and his 35 both will turn manipulate. So let's use the 35 here. We can bring Aphmau back up. So now you guys can probably start to see what's going to happen here. Aphmau is going to come up next, and then because she's puppeteering Reigns, he's going to get to go. So these guys basically can just loop each other until you run out of skill uses, right? Now, until these characters get force weapons, like, this isn't going to work for Shinryu. Like, you can't just, like, do this through an entire fight for Shinryu. But you could combo her in different ways with other characters. I just wanted to show this very traditional setup. So now, since Reigns still has tactical switch, I don't have to go back to LD, right? So she can kind of just do her own thing. Now, one thing is her AA. Her AA is kind of cool. So let me go ahead and, well, she's got her overhead, right? So while she's got the overhead, I always want to abuse that. So once again, let's just do a shot of the top one and a shot of the bottom one. So there's the healing one, gives certain party buffs, right? And then here's the thing. Reigns is going to come in between on the tactical switch. That was already a free turn use. So the thing that happens with this is there are a lot of free turns, and it can help for turn count because you're not eating a lot of turns. We've done quite a bit already, and we're only on turn 5 right now, right? So Reigns can, and since Aphmau's following him up again, he doesn't have to turn manipulate here. So I could just use his 15 if I want to, which isn't a turn manipulating attack. And because Aphmau was on a free turn, she's just going to come up again. I'll just cancel these launches. Like, you get the idea. We're launching, right? And then Cissnei's popping off in between every time. So pretty decent little combo. So she's still up. She still has her other attack. So let's use her other one. Remember, this one is going to give another free turn and give buffs again, right? So both of these free attacks, they both give the same automation buff to allies, but then one gives the optimization, which is more the attack one gives like the attack speed, max brave buffs or whatever, and then the other one does like the defensive ones with the buff evasion, which is really good, right? All right, so now Reigns is up again. We'll go ahead and pop his EX because we can see Aphmau's following him up, so we don't need to turn manipulate. We'll just cancel through, that's fine. Once again, this is just for demonstration purposes. I'm not optimizing damage here or anything. Just showing you how this all works, okay? So now that her overhead is gone, now she would have to decide to go in and do something else. Well, but see, Reigns still has tactical switch. He still has one turn. So she doesn't have to turn manipulate again. But we can pop the AA and show that. So what the AA does, this is cool because all the buffs I talked about throughout the fight, this literally puts everything on. It gives her pretty much all of her buffs and gives all the allies all of their buffs, all in just one button press, which is pretty cool. Reigns still has tactical switch on. Aphmau's still following him, so he can just do another regular attack. If I wanted to, I could still do a turn manipulation, but you can see it's very easy just to combo these two, like for days and days and days without Cissnei getting a turn, and she's just got her buffed up LD right now, right? Okay. Now, here's the thing. What you're going to notice is I haven't pressed the 15 and 35 yet. I haven't really explained those. The thing is you usually don't have to press them, but we will show them off here in a minute. So now what's going to happen is Reigns' tactical switch has fallen off. So at this point, if I want to keep the combo going, we would LD again. So let's go ahead and LD one more time. We'll pick Reigns as our buddy, and then she's going to go off with that. She's going to get her overhead back again, right? So this is kind of the loop you do. You just combo this, and then once again, she's going to get her overhead with the 2 free attacks. You're going to do those. Reigns is going to pop up in between, and then she's going to do her other free attack. Reigns is going to pop up again, and you just see how this goes. Like, the turns just go and go and go and go. Cissnei's coming up next, so now we want to turn manipulate, bring Aphmau back up. So the other strategy this was always good for was when you get bosses that can't be delayed. When you get bosses that can't be delayed, they can't even be delayed from break, and they're very aggressive. This was a common strategy to basically, no matter how fast the enemy is, as long as they don't jump turns on you, you basically can just stay ahead of them, right? Like, it's a pretty nasty combo, which is pretty cool. So we've got that kind of set up there. So now let's go ahead. Now I could do that combo with like the free attacks again, and that I would pretty much just keep going off like that, right? But for the sake of the showcase, let's actually show off some of her other attacks, right? So let's go ahead and just do Shield Subverter. Once again, I don't press these buttons very often. The only thing is she gives herself buffs from these, right? So from Shield Subverter, she gets the Minjing's Tactics. So that's basically like a better version of the debuff evasion one that she gives the party. But if she's already giving it to the party, you don't really have to put that on her if you don't want to, which is why, like I said, you don't really have to do the 15 and 35. You can use them though in situations where like you just need to conserve skill uses, or maybe you can't loop this combo all the way through, which like I said, unless you're using a force time, you're gonna run out on this combo in Shinryu. But eventually they will get force weapons, and then this might be viable again when Reigns gets a force weapon, right? So just keep your eye on that. But once again, this isn't meant for just Reigns. I'm just showing this because as an example. If you really like Sync can really pop off with this. You could pick any other FR character you want to just get a lot of turns. You could do it with Machina and give him a lot of turns with his like big BT plus attack. You can do all kinds of crazy things with it, right? Let's go ahead and do 6 Element. So 6 Element, you can see just another Brave HP attack. Single target with some splash. But the damage isn't great, right? These also give the allies the automation buff, or the automation buff, but they're already getting that from the other attacks that we're doing, like the free HP plus attacks. So you don't really have to do that. It does put a speed down on the enemy, so I guess if you do need to put a debuff on, you can use 6 Element to do that. And it does have high turn rate, so she might jump turns on it a little bit. But other than that, it's nothing crazy. And then she gets Objang's Tactics, which just gives her attack, max brave, and speed, and it's a little bit better than the party one. But once again, you don't really have to stress about putting those on her because the party buffs that she's already giving are going to be enough, right? So anyways, guys, there you go. That's Aphmau. I know it was kind of wordy, but in the end, basically all you're really doing with her, you don't have to worry about those other buffs. It's really just managing like the character that you're puppeteering with that LD buff. That's really the main thing. And then always just utilize her free turns when she gets those, because they're just free instant turns. Use her to heal when you want to. She is a nice little character, so if you like her, you definitely can get some use out of her. If you think you like this playstyle, definitely go ahead and pick her up. Try out with some team comp. She's a pretty fun character. So anyways, guys, hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys all on the next one. Later.